All right, so animal therapy. We're diving into that today. You've been checking out this career path,
Yeah.
and honestly, I got to say it, you've got me kind of curious too.
Yeah.
I mean, helping animals get better and, really live their best lives. Who wouldn't want to do that?
Mm.
But before we get lost in all the warm fuzzies,
Right.
what does an animal therapist actually do all day?
It's definitely one of those careers that really speaks to people's passions. And sure, there are probably some heartwarming cuddles in the mix, but it's really a career built on some serious know-how and, hard work. Think of it this way. A vet figures out what's wrong with the animal, makes the diagnosis, then the animal therapist steps in to actually provide the treatment.
Oh, okay. So they're kind of like animal physiotherapists then, working right alongside vets.
Exactly. Total team effort. And speaking of teams, this RoleCatcher guide we're looking at, it says animal therapy is like super multidisciplinary.
Right.
It's not just the hands-on stuff. You need to really understand animal physiology, pharmacology, even psychology comes into play.
Wow.
It's about treating the whole animal.
I'm already seeing how much depth there is to this. And speaking of depth, this guide mentions hydrotherapy and chiropractic techniques. I'm having a hard time picturing those. What do they actually look like in practice? I can't imagine giving a dog a spinal adjustment.
That's where things get really interesting. Picture this. You've got a dog recovering from surgery, right? And they need to regain their strength and get moving again. So they do that in a specially designed underwater treadmill.
No way.
That's hydrotherapy. It works wonders for joint problems, pain management, even weight loss.
Wow. That's way more high-tech than I was picturing. Okay, so then what about this chiropractic care? I don't even know where you'd start with an animal.
Well, it's all about using these gentle adjustments on their spine and joints. Now, you can't exactly ask a horse to lie down on a table like we do, right? So animal chiropractors, they've got specific techniques they use for different animals, and they often end up working with the animal's natural movements.
Wow, that's incredible. Okay, so we're talking some serious medical knowledge here. What kind of education do you actually need to get started in something like this?
Yeah, you're right on the money there. A strong educational background is a must. This guide really emphasizes having a degree in either veterinary medicine or animal science. Those are like the most common starting points.
Yeah.
You got to know how an animal's body works inside and out.
Makes sense.
Mm.
But it's not just memorizing anatomy textbooks, is it?
Yeah.
You mentioned psychology playing a part too. What's the connection there?
Yeah, that's a really important point, and honestly, one that often gets overlooked. You got to remember, animals, they have feelings too.
Right.
They can get stressed, anxious, even traumatized. So as an animal therapist, you have to be just as tuned in to their behavior as you are to any physical symptoms.
Oh, for sure. So it's almost like being an animal whisperer or something.
Exactly. A huge part of the job is all about building that trust, that rapport with the animal. They have to feel safe and relaxed, especially during treatment.
Totally.
Yeah.
So it's not just about their physical well-being, but their emotional state too. Wow.
Mm.
This career path really requires a lot of compassion and empathy.
You got it. And the guide even says, this whole emotional side of things, it can be pretty demanding. Just imagine you're working with an animal that's been through something really traumatic
Yeah.
and you're helping them to heal physically, but you always have to be aware of that emotional element too.
Man, that's got to be incredibly rewarding, but I can see how it'd be really draining at times too.
For sure. It takes a certain type of person to handle both the highs and the lows. You need resilience, empathy, and of course, you got to really love animals to thrive in this field.
Definitely. Speaking of thriving, what about moving up in this career? The guide mentioned you could even start your own practice someday. How would someone even go about doing that?
So usually you'd start out by assisting more experienced therapists. You learn the ropes, gradually take on more and more responsibility. Then, as you get more experience under your belt, you might find a specialty, something like hydrotherapy or canine rehabilitation, or even working with exotic animals.
Exotic animals.
Right.
Whoa.
Oh.
Can you imagine working with like a tiger someone's rescued or a parrot?
Right. The possibilities are pretty much endless. And if you're a go-getter, you could open up your own animal therapy center one day. Build a team, create a space that's all about helping animals.
Okay, I'm really starting to see how fulfilling this could be. But let's be real, this guide doesn't sugarcoat things either, does it? What are some of the not-so-fun parts people should know about?
Yeah, it's definitely not all like cute puppies and playful kittens all the time. This guide mentions it's physically demanding. Being on your feet a lot, the possibility of getting bitten or scratched. It's not for everyone, that's for sure.
And then there's that emotional toll we talked about.
Yeah.
The tough cases, the compassion fatigue, That takes serious inner strength to deal with over time.
Absolutely. And you have to be okay with constantly learning new things. New tech and treatment methods are popping up all the time, so you're always adapting and adding to your skill set.
It makes sense. I mean, this field is changing so fast.
It really is. And you know what? That's actually where that interview prep section in this RoleCatcher guide, that's where it really comes in handy. They've got some like really insightful sample interview questions, stuff that shows you what it really takes to succeed in this field.
Oh, yeah. Like what kind of questions?
Well, one example, they ask, can you describe a time you had to handle a difficult animal or, a tricky situation? It's all about seeing if you can stay cool under pressure, make good decisions on the spot.
Yeah, that's a tough one.
Mm.
I bet you really do have to think fast in this job. You can't exactly, like, reason with a scared animal, right?
Exactly. It's more about like reading their body language, understanding their instincts, and knowing how to respond so everyone's safe, you and the animal. It takes a special kind of person for sure.
Sounds like it. Okay, so we've covered a lot. We talked about the different skills you need, the emotional ups and downs, the fact that you're always learning, and even how to rock that job interview. But if you had to sum it all up, what would you say is like the most important thing to be successful as an animal therapist?
That's a great question. And while all those things we talked about are key, the technical stuff, being a good communicator, handling the pressure,
Mm.
I really think it comes down to this. It's not just a job, it's a calling.
I love that. And you can totally tell from these resources that the people who are drawn to this work, they're driven by this huge passion for animals. It's more than just a career. It's like who they are.
Exactly. It's that spark, that fire in your belly, that real dedication to making life better for animals. That's what's going to get you through the rough parts and keep you wanting to learn and grow.
It's about finding that joy in the work itself,
Right.
not just the paycheck or the job title.
Exactly. When you've got that passion, those obstacles, they become like opportunities.
Yeah.
And the rewards, you can't even measure that.
That is so well said. Even if everyone listening doesn't end up becoming a licensed animal therapist, these role catcher guides, they're such a cool peek into this whole world of animal care.
Absolutely. It's inspiring, to see that level of dedication, that compassion.
It really is. And it makes you realize there are so many ways to help animals, even if it's not a traditional career path.
Totally. Like maybe you're good with your hands and you can build shelters.
Or you're a writer and you create content for animal shelters.
Or maybe you've just got a big heart and some free time and you volunteer at the local shelter.
Exactly. Every little bit of kindness, every bit of effort, it all makes a difference for these animals.
And that's something to remember as you're reading through these guides, thinking about your own path.
Beautifully said. So as we wrap up this deep dive into the world of animal therapy, remember this. It's not just about what you do. It's about why you do it. That passion for animals, that desire to help, that's what it's all about. And hey, who knows? Maybe this deep dive sparks something in you too.
Maybe you're feeling inspired to find your own way to make a difference for animals.
Because even small acts of kindness, they can have a ripple effect.
So get out there and make your mark, one paw print at a time.
Until next time.